what they say, you don't call on Google Hangouts. You don't breathe into the mic. You don't go respond to those work emails, and you don't mess around with Jim. This is weird, very
Why?
weird. Just we were talking earlier. I can't see myself on StreamYard, so I just look like a black screen. So I have no way to like just check anything. Like thankfully, I checked my hair before. It's okay, but yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Well, you look great, Brooklyn. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think you're wearing the shirt that I wore on the last episode. I'm not like that.
Probably, yeah.
You need to stop getting into my closet. I put a lock on there for a reason. God damn it! That's where all of our gambling money for the rubber ducks go.
I was trying to figure a way to pepper in the rubber duck story, but I'm glad that you did, because now that's just part of the lore.
Simpatico. Hey guys, welcome back to the Turntable, episode 18 in season 2 of this series. We had a little bit of a shakeup for the panel today. Last time I announced that we were going to have Rosario Montenegro. That unfortunately didn't happen. But because of that, we got to call on our old friend Amaru while he still had some free time. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good. You know I'm always glad to be back here. I literally asked right after we ended the last one, yo, can I get on one more time before the summer is out? And y'all said no. But then Nazario left, so thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And I'm back.
Yeah. And
to ask people if they've heard the album before.
Look, man, that's fair.
It's basically Rue's job at this point. Like I'm tempted to just make a clip of when he said it, just so that we can pop it up. We don't have to worry about it. It's just part of the show.
Just a compilation series video. Yeah.
Also, since I am on this channel more than you two are now, I mean, it kind of works, right?
Hey, yeah. I mean, yes. Rue, what did you bring to the table today?
I brought, I'll talk about it more later, but I brought, I think, a 2010 hip-hop album called Care For Me by Chicago underground legend, a part of the Pivot Gang crew, Saba.
All right. And let's bring on our next guest, first-timer to the series. It's one Tim Berkala. Tim, how you doing? How you feeling about this?
Scared. No, I'm excited. I like music. Music's good. I like more than movies. Shut up. Yeah, no. This is gonna be fun. I was happy to get invited. Thanks for inviting me. I was sad that I wouldn't get to hear Nazario talk about my album, but I'm happy that Rue is here and we can talk about it and his album and your albums and stuff. So this is gonna be fun.
All right. And what did you bring to the table today?
I brought a new release, a 2025 release by a emo band, Arm's Length. The album is There's a Whole World Out There. Just came out in May. So it's fresh, but I'll talk about it more in my spiel.
All right. So I brought a 1970s punk album called Germ Free Adolescents by the band X-Ray Spex. Brooklyn, what did you bring?
I brought Huey Lewis and the News's, I believe, their third studio album, Sports.
And unfortunately, as I alluded to earlier, we were also supposed to have Mike motherfucking Hanley on here. Unfortunate situations came up. Our hearts go out to you, Mike. But we will still be talking about Mike's album. And he brought another 80s soundtrack. Can you believe it, guys? This one being the Lost Boys soundtrack. So I'm going to put a spin on this question. Has anyone seen this movie before?
Yeah.
Okay. So this absolutely fits the tone of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just these big anthemic kind of sounding 80s. I don't want to call it hair metal, but it's definitely like arena rock in a sense. There is a subgenre called big music, which this kind of fits into. and it's all about teen vampires, gothy teen vampires. So when I'm putting the music to the movie, it works. Outside of the movie, kinda. Like, there are some things that I really like about it, but for the most part, I don't necessarily hate it. I'm just kind of like, yeah, this sounds like the B-side to a lot of 80s music from back then, with a little bit of kick-ass instrumentals, but more often than not, it's like those big, echoey, compressed drums and like the atmospheric like synths and all that. I was expecting more from NXS, honestly, on this album because I love NXS, and this kind of a lot of these songs feel like they asked these artists to make a song, but they only had one day to make it. That's kind of how I feel about most of this album.
Yeah, I could see that. Just going off of the NXS thing, I was excited to see that they were on the soundtrack because I love them. I think the collaboration that they had with Jimmy Barnes on the 2 tracks, one was okay and one was really good. I think the singles are like, yeah, they're like the ones that got radio play. Like Lost in the Shadows and Cry Little Sister. Lost in the Shadows is great. I love like the high harmonies and just that intro of like the drums and the synth, and it's like the chorus itself is probably like the best moment of the whole soundtrack.
Yeah.
Then you got some choices. You have Roger Daltrey doing his cover of "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me," and the first time that I listened to that song, I hated it because I just had like not even the original, but just the duet of Elton John and George Michael stuck in my head, and I love that song so much because of like the sustain that they have in their voice. Roger doesn't really do that. Second time around, I took it a completely different way. I was like, all right, listen, this is Roger trying to do his cover of the song. Instrumentation wise, I think it's fine, but yeah, I don't love his voice already.
I was about to say, you also just don't like the Who at all. So
I don't love the Who. They're not like Bruce Springsteen levels, but they're definitely like I haven't found like the song to be like, all right, like now we go on our deep dive. But yeah, like
you're not a pinball wizard.
Tommy.
But like, there's moments on this where I don't love the vocals. Like "Cry Little Sister," I remember hearing this on radio and be like, it's all right. But now when I come back to it, I forget the name of the guy who sings it. But he's
Gerard McMahon.
And it sucks because like I listened to some of his stuff afterwards and it doesn't sound as whiny, but like you get to like the "Cry Little Sister" and it just sounds so like disingenuine, I guess. Like it's nice to have like the kids doing the backing vocals, but it's very just like, you are in the 80s, you belong here. Yeah.
I mean, it's the Lost Boys, though.
Yeah.
The movie is very. I've only seen it once. I saw it like 2 years ago, maybe, and the movie is very like everything you would picture like the 80s to look like is what the movie is, and
as
this
directed by Joel Schumacher. So.
Yeah, exactly. And this album, I felt the same way. Like Bar was kind of saying before, like does it like in the movie it like totally matches and it fits and you kind of get the vibe, but like on its own it's kind of like, yeah, like okay, like all right, I don't know that this 100% works all the way, but it's not like actively bad or anything. It's just kind of like, yeah, all right, these are songs that sound like the 80s.
Rue, what about you?
I was vibing with it, man. I was.
Okay.
Yeah, like I knew I've never seen the Lost Boys, but I know what the Lost Boys is. Luckily, I've also never really heard NXS. And the second that first song hit, and it was NXS and Jimmy Barnes, I think. Like I was like, oh, this is kicking off with a bang. I really, really enjoy this song. It's kind of funky. And then the rest sounded like an 80s album. It's not gonna be the first time I say that today. What really stood out to me when I was trying to figure out what to say about this. I know you two usually listen to the albums, or some of y'all listen to the album more than once. I usually just run it through once and just have my thoughts on it. So I guess me not knowing any of the other artists, not seeing the movie, it kind of just fresh ears. What do I hear? A lot of it sounded to me like gothic gospel.
I could see that.
Yeah, gothic gospel music. So I got some hints of gospel music I've heard growing up, but if it was in a white church, but not the folky one, just again, gothic gospel. It worked for me. And the hint of the 80s, I like some songs more than others for sure. I'm with you. I think Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me was one I was okay, sure. But there wasn't a song I actively hated. There wasn't a song I actively wanted to skip. I was able to listen through the whole thing. I was like, this is cool. This is an 80s soundtrack to an 80s movie. This is pure 80s. And with a couple of and I'm gonna say it, the NXS songs were the ones that I was like, oh wow, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this a pretty good amount. So I was cool with this. I was again vibing to it.
Yeah, I would say the NXS is probably the band that fares the best on this album, but it also helps that they have 2 songs on here.
I have one critique of the first one, Good Times. I found when Andrew, you were talking about they had a day to make this song. That's one of the ones I was like, oh, I could see that, because it reminded me of AC/DC. It's pretty straightforward, and it's just talking about rock and roll and we're gonna have a good time. And it's just they added piano to it, but if you took it and an AC/DC song, they're not too dissimilar, and that's not what I like about NXS. NXS is very almost funky, or they're trying different stuff. But yeah,
I will say I think I'm just biased because I like Thomas Newman so much as a composer, but to end the soundtrack with the only score part from this movie, and it's the one that takes place at the carnival, or the fair, or whatever it is that they have set up. To end the soundtrack with that was an interesting choice. I loved it personally. Anyone else?
For later on that one.
I thought it was bizarre. I listened to it. So I remember sitting there I listened to it this morning, and I was at work working, listening to it, and then all of a sudden that came on, and it was pretty bouncy, and I was like, oh, and then I looked at the artist. I'm like, yes, Mr. Newman.
When it came up and it was playing, I was like, was this in another movie I haven't seen that I don't want to really see in Nightmare Before Christmas? Because that's exactly what I thought we were listening to.
Honestly, it still fits the tone. Nightmare Before Christmas kind of has a very similar gothic, bombastic kind of attitude or atmosphere to it, so I can see that. All right, any last thoughts on this one before we wrap this up? All right, I'm going to start. I am giving this a flat 6. I think that it's good, but there are some things we brought up in excess. We brought up Lost in the Shadows. My favorite one is actually Cry Little Sister. I know. As soon as you were talking about it, I had to try to put Poker Face on. But there's just something about that gothic atmosphere which kind of felt like there was like haze just kind of like floating through the song that I just really, really dug a lot. My least favorite song, it's hard, because it's probably between Power Play and I Still Believe, because they're the two songs on here that I can't remember a single thing about. So I'm just going to randomly pick Power Play. Let's go to Brooklyn next.
All right. I feel like this is going to be the lowest rating. It's going to be a 4.9. There are some things to check out on this, but even like the things that have been able to get radio play only have these like one moment of brilliantness, and then everything else you're kind of just waiting to get back to it. My favorite one is going to be Lay Down the Law, the other NXS Jimmy Barnes collaboration, and that's the one that just sounds the most like NXS. I love the sax solo. I love the keys hook. I would love to see just NXS, like, if they just got full reins on this album, what they could have done, because I think they could have matched the cheesiness that comes with this movie, as well as just like the fun rock and roll time that you can have. My least favorite is To the Shock of Miss Louise, the score piece. If I ever get back into movie trivia, I will forever remember that it is Thomas Newman that does the score for this, because of just how jarring it is and how it just tonally takes you out. I guess adding score pieces to a soundtrack, but if we're judging this like on an album, it's not a great closer. Maybe I need to see the movie to see if there's like any other score pieces that would fit better in here. But yeah, just an odd choice.
Let's go to Amaru.
Yeah, like I said, I vibe with it. I will say, I think I'm with you, Bar. There were a couple of parts of the soundtrack that I kind of don't remember anything from. But it was seeing us from the Lost Boys. It's what I expected. I was surprised by how many songs I actually was like, this is pretty enjoyable. So I am giving this, and I was going back and forth with another album with like what score I would give it, but I think I'm going to give this a 7.8. Again, okay. I was solidly entertained listening to it. Obviously, Good Times is my favorite song. Like when it played, I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is what we're doing. All right, I'm good with this. Let's see how this continues. And then I'm gonna agree with Brooklyn. It also ended with a this is, and then it ended. I was like, wow, we're really okay, cool. So like it was jarring. It was very much like this does not fit. Nor I thought maybe like it would be an interlude to like a couple more songs to finish out the album. Like a little like, okay, you put a score piece of the movie in between more soundtrack, and then it just ended. And I was like, oh, okay then, cool. On to the next.
And Tim.
I'd probably have to go with Good Times as well for the favorite. Though I agree with the consensus. Well, maybe not consensus, but I heard most of like the NXS songs being kind of the highlights. But I think I agree with Rue where like Good Times, like starting out, like it's a good vibe. And I actually would go with Power Play as the least favorite. I don't know why, just kind of like that one did not vibe. I thought it was just like I was not into that one. And yeah, I'd give this like a 6.4 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. Like I didn't hate it. I didn't like vibe with it as much as Rue did, but I like I said earlier, I didn't actively hate any of the songs. But yeah.
Brooklyn, what does that bring us to? Mike unfortunately could not give us any scores for this.
That's right. Since Tim said between 6 and 6.5, I'm giving it a 6.45, the executive decision, which gives it a rating of 6.2875. That puts it second last in our in season 2 ranking, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah.
I still think it's better than some of the other albums that have been brought to the table, but we're just going to go by the math here. And that actually is going to take us onto my album, Germ-Free Adolescents by X-Ray Spex. Has anyone heard this album before?
I've not.
Neither have I. This is another instance where I knew one, maybe two of the songs from this, and just wanted to hear the rest of it. Brooklyn and I had talked about X-Ray Spex before on the original Top 500 list that we covered, because it actually included a song from not this album called "Oh Bondage Up Yours," which I thought was fucking kick-ass. And so I was like, I don't know what I was listening to, but then Spotify went, "We think you might like this song," and it started playing Identity. And I was like, you know what, Spotify? Usually you're wrong, but this time you are absolutely right. I loved that song, and so I was like, all right. And I was looking up some other random video where some record store employee was asked, hey, what would you like recommend to anybody who's trying to get into punk music? And he was basically like, oh, well, there's, this album, and then there's this album. And then he brought up this one. And I recognized the album cover from the Identity listen, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I figured I'd bring it to this show. And I'm glad I did. I don't necessarily know if I would call this a great album, but it is a lot of fun. There is a lot to this album that I really enjoyed. Polly, what's her name? Polly Styrene is just a vocalist who is not necessarily the best singer, but she uses her voice to her strengths. She's very charismatic on the mic. Her power, which is super important when it comes to punk music, is so sharp. I liked some of the playfulness throughout some of the lyrics of some of these songs, like the title track in general. I thought was really good with that. But the biggest strength of this album is Rudy Thompson and that saxophone. That saxophone really, really was the anchor for a lot of these songs. And I don't think that I had to literally just look up their name like minutes ago, but I don't think we talk about Rudy Thompson enough when it comes to the punk scene. So while I don't think that this album is necessarily great, I really enjoyed listening to it, and I'm happy that I did, but I want to hear everyone else's opinions.
I'll jump in. I want to thank you because I made sure while I was listening to this that I was going to say I have to give love to whoever is playing the shit out of that saxophone because it cut through a whole lot and it was damn good. So yes, thank you. Roy Thompson?
Rudy.
There was an R in there. I knew that. Rudy Thompson, which is funnily enough the first name and last name of two of my best friends in my TFA friend group, which is good. Shout out to Rudy Shar and Ben Thompson. Put them together, you get a saxophone player. And I again love the sax. When I started playing it, I was like, okay, I feel the vibe, and I was like, I think I might start getting into this. Her voice kicked in. I was like, all right, let me get used to this. And for maybe 3 or 4 songs, I was like, maybe I can do this. I do like the instrumentation, but after a while, it just started to sound like white noise.
Yeah, it kind of does blend together, which is one of the weaknesses.
It not like horribly, like because the playfulness. You said the playfulness makes you go in and out in different songs. But there are certain points where, like, unfortunately, it's also a little bit hard to understand what she's saying sometimes.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is like, okay, like if you are clear and your voice is that like powerful and slightly rough, maybe I can like deal with it. But after a while, I was starting to get tired. I was and was not not as into it as I thought I could stay into it. Like y'all present these albums, I'm like, all right, let me listen to something I haven't listened to, and let me like find things I like that saxophone. But I think by, and I just realized it was the disc 1 and disc 2. I think after Identity, and once disc 2 started to hit and it kept going, I was zoned out. I was like, her voice is hitting my ears too rough. A lot of when the saxophone is not there, a lot of the instrumentation kind of is blending in with her like indiscriminate voice, not indiscriminate lyrics, but like her indiscriminate pronunciation, and it was all just kind of blended together after a while. So started off where I was like, I see the merit, but by the end I was kind of like, yeah, I couldn't stay along with this one.
The 70s London punk scene for you.
Yeah. Rue said a lot of stuff. I was gonna say, Bar was like, oh, you know, like there was one, like some of these songs, like, oh, and I was like, they all sound the same to me. Like, and I love punk.
No. I would not say that songs like Warrior and Woolworth sounds like artificial.
They all sounded the same to me. And here's the thing: is like, I might be playing my hand a little early, but when Germ-Free Adolescents, the song came up, I was like, oh shit, where was this like 4 tracks ago or 5 tracks ago? Because that's a slow, like not slow, but it's a slower song.
It's almost acoustic in a sense.
Yeah, you actually get like the you get more of like her and the instruments just like really dialed in on that song. And I wanted more of that. It felt very much to me like, and I don't know where this is in the X-Ray Spex discography. I know they only have like 4 albums maybe.
I want to say that this was their first.
It sounds like the first album of a band that is hot on the scene, has all of the pieces, like the drummer's insane, the saxophone's great. I agree with most of what you were saying about her voice, where she's not the best singer, but she's hot on the mic and is doing a lot of really cool stuff. But I agree with her. You can't understand a fucking word she's saying. You can't understand anything. Brooklyn, are you about to tell me this is their like final album?
No, I was gonna say if you don't count a live album that they put out a year before, this is their first.
Okay,
and then yeah,
and then they only had one after this in the 90s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they clashed.
Yeah, like most bands in that era. But again, like there was stuff like in it where I pretty much just agree with Rue. Like he spoke everything that I was thinking of. Like it started, and I was like, I got to get used to this voice. Clearly, there's a lot of talent behind the scenes, but it did not coalesce for me. And I agree with Rue. It at a certain point hit white noise for me. And when I downloaded from Apple Music just the one that was on there, there were 2 bonus tracks I didn't even listen to because I was like the album ended with the day the world turned glow, and I was like, I'm out. Peace.
It's a shame that they ended with that one, because I will say the last 2 songs on this album are probably the weakest ones, and the bonus track Age, I think, would have been the perfect song to actually end it with, because it is a little bit more, it's a little bit different. It actually leans a little bit more into like punk pop almost.
So before we started this, I was gonna try to say that like a lot of our albums have been taking like big swings. It's the one that I've noticed, like the most risk. We talked about Lost Boys and kind of what they did with the last track, but with this one, having sax in punk, it's the first time I've heard these styles kind of clash, and I dug it. Like I respect the hell out of the decision to try to go for that sound, because it does stand out. I agree though with what Tim and Rua have been saying, is that like coming on like the second half, her voice does start to get like just repetitive, and you can't really make out what she's saying. I think production wise, I think the second half is incredibly strong. I like the day the world turned day glow. I found that was the most metal of the bunch, probably like the hardest sounding. I think Artificial lyrically has aged beautifully. And especially what we're dealing with right now. Age like fine wine. All the ways that they incorporate the saxophone, there's some good and there's some not good. Obsessed with You. I like the screechy sax stuff during the chorus. That's kind of a neat way to kind of add that sound. Identity probably has like my favorite use of the sax at all. I Can't Do Anything. It does one weird thing that it matches the vocal melody and the sax melody, and that becomes just like really screeching. Like there's nothing like in the back that's kind of like balancing it out. It's just very like treble heavy. Yeah, and then you were talking about like Germ-Free Adolescents, and like that reminded me of the Who, and like that's all right. Like this is why kind of Andrew dug this, but that track in particular, that was the first time I remember hearing synth, and I love when albums don't introduce new instruments until later because it just kind of gives like a breath of fresh air throughout the album.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be disappointed in. This is like one of the few episodes where like I won't be any bit disappointed in hearing stuff like this because I get it. It's a first time listen for me, so I didn't know what to expect. I do wish that they had ended it with one of those bonus tracks instead of the way that they did, because as Brooklyn alluded to, it would have added a little bit of fresh air, some ear candy. But with that being said, any last words before we move on? All right, didn't think so.
Shout out to that saxophone.
Rudy, snaps all around. So I think because of the time it came out, and also just the fact that it was like a woman lead in the British punk scene, which you didn't see that a lot at that time, at least. I understand why this album is considered as groundbreaking and important as it is. With that being said, it's going to skew my rating just a little bit. So I'm giving it a 7.5. I think that there's a lot of strengths on here. I do understand that a lot of it will tend to blend together after a while, but the highs are really high. My least favorite song is Plastic Bag. It was the one song where when I hit it, I finally just kind of went, all right, it sounds literally like 17 other songs from this era that I can think of, like Sex Pistols and Clash and stuff like that. There was nothing about that one that really stood out for me. Obviously, Identity is my favorite song on this album. It's the one that's got the most punch. It's the one that's got the most drive. It's got the one that's got the stickiest hook out of every song on this album. It's the one that I kept whistling to myself as I was like doing chores throughout the house today. So let's go to Brooklyn next.
Yeah, I like I said earlier, like I respect the hell out of this album. And it like when you're trying to do something as bold as adding sax into punk, you're gonna get my attention. I'm gonna give this a 7. I thought it was okay. Like I sort of like when you get into this one, I always think of like previous albums that I had brought on, and I think about like Red Hot Chili Peppers Unlimited Love. Like that was 7.9. It's like, all right, well, like where does it fit there? And I wouldn't say it's like quite as good as that, but I liked some of the songs. My favorite one is probably I Am a Poser. I just like the swing of it, and it's like it's the most like protesty sort of vibe to it. I just really dug that. My least favorite, unfortunately, is Warrior in the Woolworths, and I don't love the vocal choices there. Like I think maybe just from the title of the song, where it's just like, oh, I thought this is gonna be like majestic and like, you know, it's going to continue kind of that strong anthem, and it's just very soft. And it's like, why are we doing this on a song called like Warrior in the Woolworths? Just yeah, didn't stick with me.
Tim, let's go to you next.
Yeah, now I'm second guessing my scoring. I'm gonna
Trust
go.
your gut.
I'm gonna go 6.5, 6.5, clean. It's not it. It's one of those things where it's like I respect the art. I can tell there's like passion there, but I do not care. And I want to care more because I like punk, and so I want to like it more. But my favorite was Germ Free Adolescents because it was the one where I was like, this is something different out of a sea of a lot of stuff that sounds very similar to me. And so I really like that song. And then I agree with, I think Barr said it, Plastic Bag was the one that I did not like at all. That was the one where I really started to be like, okay, we're done here. So yeah.
And Ruth.
So I'm giving this a 5.7. That 0.7 is probably for the sacks to get it over 5. And yeah, it was something I tried to open myself up to, try to like understand the context. I very much agree with Tim. I get the talent behind it. I get the importance behind it. But yeah, it started like I can get this, and then it just kept going down more and more. I listened to it, and it started to get grating. And again, very similar to Tim. Germ Free Adolescents was also my favorite track on here. It was the one that like I think it may not have been, but to me, outside of maybe Artificial, it felt the most playful. It seemed like the most playful with the way she was using her words and how she was changing adolescence as a noun to adolescence as I'm a teacher. I swear I'm a teacher. Adjective. Though that also might be a noun. I don't know. Anyway, and then I'm with Brooklyn. Warrior and Woolworth was just like, what is that? Like, was that the one? Because I tried to like find it. Was that the one that like repeated the
Warrior?
Yeah, no, that was it. That was it. I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you.
I'm not gonna lie though, listening to that song and like maybe one or two other ones, like I hear a huge influence on bands like Garbage and No Doubt. But yeah. All right, so Rue, we're gonna go to you next. Tell us more about Care for Me.
Has anybody besides Brooklyn heard this before? Because I know he's heard it.
I've heard individual songs.
Cool. All right. So about last week when I was listening to it, I had a lot to say as I was going through it. So I'm going to try to remember as much as I can. The first thing that sticks out to me this time listening through this is the album cover. The album cover is Saba in a darkly lit kitchen, just sitting down, kind of having this like far off stare with this one light kind of dimly lighting him, and that kind of is the feeling of this album. I brought this album first to this channel a while ago when y'all were doing like top 10s or whatever of top 10 of 2010. This was my number 10 of 2010 out of all albums. This first time I heard it, it kicked the shit out of me. And the reason why the album cover stood out to me, because that is the epitome of what it is to be a young Black man in the inner city of Chicago. There is so much trauma and there's so much crap, but there's so much family and there's so much hope and there's just so much life living as a young man. I'm like just living as a young man. And I am lucky enough that I was privileged that I didn't have to deal with that myself. But my father worked in public housing, so I was always around it. And I knew exactly what the culture of the South Side of Chicago is. And this Saba does so well with this album to make it feel like a concept album and a storytelling album without actually telling a story until I get to the end, which I will leave for the end. But like first thing I'm going to talk off about musically is I think the instrumentation on this album is immaculate. the way he uses pianos and the different like drum kicks or the hi-hats, and like you hear every bit of music. And I will say, even listening through it, this album, weirdly, like a lot of the other ones, also has a similar tone throughout. Like you can tell this is all part of one album, but instead of, to me, feeling like just all sounding the same, it sounds like a cohesive unit. It sounds like an album you need to listen to from front to back. But also, if you don't, the second you hear it, because I've heard this was the album that got me into Saba. Like I've listened to Saba from everything he came out with. I've listened to ever since. And if you play one song from this, you're like, I know this is Care for Me. It's dark but hopeful. It's like truth telling, and it is a spotlight into that life, into that culture, and every aspect of his culture, from broken girls to like dealing with the relationships he's in, to life, basically going through growing up and trying to get in the music business. Gray dealing about like maybe this one's on the B side and having to deal with the bullshit of labels, and just every single one of these songs is a point into what it's like to live that kind of life. Like Fighters, talking all about like, it connected to me because I've never been in a fight in my life, and I'm the dude who like knows the people who are affiliated, but I'm not affiliated myself, and I personally teach at a Title I school, so I know the kids have to deal with being able to fight even though they're not a fighter. So when he says things like that, and he actually talks about fighting a lot in this album, and how many like beat downs he's gotten, or how many times like somebody's come in and like helped him get out of a beat down. And every single song just like hits you in a different part of your heart. And just on top of that, his voice, I'm going to bring up who I brought up last time, very similar to Jid. He uses his voice as an instrument where he can do the melodies really well. He can switch up his flows from fast-paced to a little slower to kind of like he's grooving out to a jazz beat within the same songs or in different songs. And every time I listen to any song on this album, I just feel the heart that goes into it. And then you fucking hear Prom King. And if you're listening to the album, you hear the name Walt over and over and over and over and over. And that might be the through line of the story. And you're like, who's Walt? Who's this Walt dude? Why do I keep hearing about this Walt dude? And then Prom King comes up. And it is this 5.5-minute story of how his cousin, Walt, who he didn't even know, lived down the street from him, but knew all his life, gave him money hooked him up with this girl because he got his heart broken by somebody he asked to the prom with, and they didn't even respond. So he hooked him up with the girl, and they started getting connected. And it was the whole story. The first half is the story about how like he hooked him up with the prom, and then Saba hooked him up with money to get a suit, and they started to grow stronger together. And that first half of it goes back to the South Side of Chicago. And I was gonna say this word a lot, but I'll just say it once: how niggas are gonna be niggas and like ruin crap at the end of at the end of prom, where he's at this just random party with the girl he went to the prom with, and the girl's brother comes up to him with a knife. And at the end, he says, I would tell Walt, but Walt would end up beating his ass and have to go to jail because he's for his family like that. And then King goes into the story of how they then grew up, went to college. Walt went to college for a scholarship, but didn't work out. So they came back and they got into the music thing and started Pivot Gang. And like one of my favorite parts of that song is how they kept skipping them on the open night. And Walt goes, nah, we're next. And they kind of bully their way through that. And then it continues the story of how like they get better and better, and then the beat goes faster and the rapping gets faster, and it starts to get like just roll and get more hectic. And then all of a sudden you realize that phone call he's getting is from Walt's mom because she hadn't heard from her. And it ends with I don't know where you are, my nigga, but we gonna find you. And then it cuts the music out, and Just Another Day in the Ghetto into It's Heaven All Around Me, basically from Walt's perspective as a ghost.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
And that every time I listen to that song, I am just emotional as shit. And it is a perfect 1-2 wrap up of this album that is just a storytelling, like just masterclass of what rap music is and what rap music can be. And I absolutely love this album from front to back. Yeah, it's just I'm a little sad Mike's not here because I really wanted to hear what Mike had to say about this. But I love this album. It's again, it probably goes up on my list now in the top 10 albums of the 2010s. I just think this thing is immaculate.
Anyone want to jump in?
Sure. No, I mean, I do not listen to rap music. Could you tell? Could you tell by my face? But similar but different to the last album. Because I said this last time, in that like I see the art. I've always said about rap music is like the talent it takes to write and make rap music is something I will never understand. It's incredible. The way that these guys can do what they do is insane. As like Rue said, like as storytellers, as musicians, like it's poets is a word I would use too. It's like it's insanity. It's just not what I like to listen to. But that being said, I listened to the first few songs and I was like, all right, like, yeah, I'm probably not going to enjoy this, but whatever. And I started it at work and I got through like the first 3 tracks. And I listened to 4 through 10 while I was driving home from work. And I caught myself like tapping along and nodding along. And all of a sudden I was like, am I enjoying this more than I thought I was? Interesting. So again, it's still not going to be like my like top genre or anything, but I agree with what Rue was saying of like the something that I always really like in albums is stories, and a feeling of cohesiveness in the album without the album sounding like exactly the same every song. So like how Rue was saying, if you listen to one of these songs out of the pocket, you can tell what album it's from, but not every track sounds exactly the same. Like X-Ray Spex, how I felt like every track was just like the same thing recycled. So, yeah, there was like, again, like a lot of the lyrics I was listening to try to like figure out what was going on in these songs, and just the way that like I again, because I don't listen to this type of music, but the way that he used, I agree with what Rue said, the piano and like the instruments in the background, but the piano specifically in the few times that like that was in there, like I thought was really cool. Like not what I was expecting. I was expecting to hit it and it was going to be just like rap and like electronic music in the back, but it was like real ass instruments and real ass music. And
the Chicago rap scene, when it comes to like live instrumentation, is probably the best.
And that's really cool because I'm like very like I play the drums and I play the bass, so like I'm very pro real instruments and music. If something sounds too artificial and techie, I'm just not gonna enjoy it as much. I could still
if you're ever going to be like, let me find maybe one rap group, since you said you were a drummer, The Roots.
Yes.
Because Questlove would be your guy.
Yeah.
100%.
I know Questlove as a personality and stuff, but I've never listened to the music. I did watch the movie that he made, the documentary.
So good.
That SNL one, yeah.
No, what?
No, the one about the concert in New York.
Okay.
I forget what it was called, but
yeah, the majority of their instrumentation, The Roots, is live instrumentation with the mixture of using the drum beat and the pitch. But Questlove drums everything. Yeah. They use real good, like they are a band. That's why on Fallon's show, like the best band in the world or whatever they call themselves. Yeah, because they're a rap group, but they're a band. It's the one and only Roots crew. Yeah, so
I'd also point you towards McKinley Dixon. Like his most recent album is all live instrumentation and it's just like absolutely phenomenal to listen to.
Nice. So yeah, I have thoughts on a couple of the songs that I feel like I should save for I'll say this. Prom King wasn't my favorite one, but it was the one that made me the most like, damn. Like that everything Rue was saying about it like came across in the song, which I think is awesome, because as someone who doesn't listen to this type of music, I think it would be very easy with a lesser artist for it to just sound like noise, but it doesn't. And he very clearly brings out the story. And even when he's rapping super fast towards the end, like Rue was saying, like you're still picking up on everything that's going on, and the way they use the sound and the music and the instruments and stuff to create that fuck like that Rue was talking about at the end, like is really masterfully done. And I love that type of shit when music and songs and albums like can really make you like feel part of the story that they're going for. Like I love that. So that song was really impressive. It's not my favorite one, but it's probably my second favorite one. But I can talk more about that later.
Brooklyn, you go next.
Yeah, okay. So Rue, last time you were on, I did not love your album. Complete opposite. Loved the hell out of this. I thought this was fucking unreal. I need more lo-fi hip hop albums. That was the sense that I got with the production. Just like the keys and the drums, and then sometimes when you added in the guitar, it got really drimmy. You get friggin' like woodwinds in this. Like Gray has some really good moments of like woodwinds and strings. When I think about like talking points for albums, I try to think of like the perfect setting for this, and there's like multiple settings for this, like the drive home from work, like at the middle of the night, like driving in the middle of the day, but also like in the kitchen. Like I could see myself like cooking like a long meal and like listening to this record, just because of that energy and that calmness at times. What I also really dug about this record is how it changes the way it adds the beat, or kind of changes like the dynamics of it. Like in calligraphy, the beat builds off of like the keys, and then the drums take off right afterwards. And then Logout's the one he does with Chance the Rapper, right?
Yes.
So it's Logout is like the exact opposite. It starts off with that heavy beat and then kind of comes back down, and I really appreciated that. I also got the storytelling with Smile, and then like Prom/King. So we talked about that on setlist as well, did we not?
Possibly. What I like, the one time I talked about the album was whatever the top 10 one we did.
Yeah,
the top 10 albums of the 2010s.
2010s, yeah. And then you brought him up again in Music League, and I really enjoyed that. I do agree that Prom King and the 1-2 punch of Heaven All Around Me is great. I just love the momentum that it carries from King into that song. You get that a little bit as well as from like Busy Sirens into Broken Girls. Broken Girls does have one weird thing that I'm not sure its intention. It has that like drum Doppler effect at the end, where it kind of like comes in big volume, that comes right back down. And I don't know if that's like a transition tease, or if it's something to kind of give you a gap from the next song. But yeah, I had a really good time with this. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I'm conflicted about this album. The highs on this album are super crazy high. And then I feel like the front half of the album, though, is not as strong as the second half is. Like once you get to Fighter, I think that's when it really does click in. Like lyrically, that's the huge strength of this album, is him as a writer, because the storytelling, as we said, on like Prom King, Into Heaven All Around Me, Fighter, Busy/Sirens, his pen is amazing. To me, it feels like an album of an artist still kind of discovering themselves as an artist. Because the reason I say that is because there were some songs where I kind of felt like the influences were starting to push themselves to the front. Like his flow on Smile reminded me a lot of Chances. Broken Girls kind of reminded me a little bit of Earl Sweatshirt. So while I think towards the end, that's when you really see Saba as an artist, I think that there's part of this album where he's still kind of trying to find his own sound. I love a lot of the production on here. Is Donnie Trumpet on this? Because I feel like he is.
I do not know, but like I'm pretty sure it's a Chicago artist because he's been on an album with Chance and everything. So
yeah, because I know that he's from Chicago, but like I didn't see his name listed. But for some reason, I like whenever a trumpet would sound, it sounded like his trumpet. There was one thing production wise that I just could not get into though, and it was the tuning of the guitar. Whenever that guitar would pop up, it sounded out of tune, and it just kind of like took me out a little bit. Like it was dissonant compared to the rest of the production. So I'm not saying that this is a bad album. The internet's going to come after me and get into my DMs and all that for this one, because
I think this is one of the only albums that Needle Drop gave a 10 out of 10. This is one of the few.
Did he really?
I believe so.
Interesting.
I might be confusing it with another one, but I think I remember seeing like on Wikipedia or on something that he doesn't give 10 out of 10s very often. And I looked at what the ones that he did, and I saw it, and I was like, yes, thank you. But maybe I'm thinking of another one. Nope. Yep. There we go. And has given. Nope, I take that back. He doesn't give many perfect scores. I'm trying to figure. I got to figure out which one it is.
It's probably like a strong 9 or something like that. Then
yeah.
But so like I still think that this is a very good album. I really like his last one that he just put out. That one's dope as hell. This one, it doesn't work for me personally the way it seems to have worked for everyone else. Any last thoughts on this one? Because I don't want to end it like that.
Did you just say his newest album is dumb as hell?
No, it's dope as hell.
Oh, dope! I thought you said dumb. I was like, harsh.
I am shooting verbal bullets right now.
Yeah.
No.
It was it was clips like God sort them out that just released, and that's why I was like something very recent that I was paying attention to.
Montano gave 10 out of 10. Okay.
And he gave like God sort them out 10 out of 10.
Nice. Okay. I've only gotten through like the first 3 songs on that album. I need to get back into that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Do. Very much do.
But Rue, we're gonna start with you. Score, favorite, least favorite.
I am so glad that I don't know about tuning or when things are out of tune or not, because I don't have to pay attention to that, because I have no idea what you're talking about whatsoever. And I don't mean like I don't agree with you or disagree with you. But I'm not talking about your opinion. I mean, I literally have no idea what to listen for when you're talking about that. So great for me, because this is a 10 out of 10 album for me. This is a perfect album from the first time I listened to it. Every time I listen to it more, it gets even better. And it just, again, it is not personally my life, but it is so close to so many people I know personally. And living in the South Side of Chicago and growing up with people from the South Side of Chicago, it is Chicago. One of the many versions of the Chicago that it is. I talked about Prom King so much beforehand because it is not my favorite song. My favorite song is Life. So yeah, you're talking about like not liking the beginning of it. I love that song to death, mostly because of the energy it brings. it feels like a venting session because it starts off, I'm with my granddaddy, so he starts singing, and then he gets into the chorus. Mama, Mr. Pocket with the Sprite. I killed him with my pocket knife, and my uncle on the phone, and he keeps going, and then he ends that first chord with "Life don't mean shit to a nigga that ain't never had shit." And it just feels like just energy bubbling and bubbling and bubbling, and then he lets it out, and then he starts over again for the second verse. And even after after he lets it out, he goes, telling him I'm be okay, telling it then. It's just the way it builds up. I love the instrumental to it. I love his delivery, and that's a song that just gets me hyped every time I hear it. So I love that song. Being at a 10 out of 10, I don't have a least favorite. I have a song that I don't like as much as I love the other ones. So like my bottom favorite, I guess, and it's really hard, but I guess it might have to be Smile. Maybe it's the one I listen to the least amount, or the one I don't want to like go back to. But when I ran this back last week, like I had more appreciation for songs that I didn't like as much before. Like Log Out, Calligraphy, Gray, Smile were all songs that I really liked, but I didn't love, and running it through it this time, I love. So it's kind of like let me just throw a dart and find out which one would be at the bottom of my list here.
All right, I'm gonna go next. I'm giving this a 7.8.
Cool.
I do still really think that it's a very strong album. The ending 1, 2, 3 punch of Gray, Prom King, and Heaven All Around Me is just like absolutely fantastic. Even though my favorite song is actually Fighter, because the storytelling in that is just like there's so many different things going on in that, whether it be like the physical fighting, the fighting with one's inner self, and then the fighting of one's demons and depression and stuff like that at the end. Just like a really solidly made song. My least favorite one is probably Broken Girls. That one just does not click for me the way that some of these other ones do. I think it is just kind of the hook. I get it. I understand why it works. It just didn't work for me.
Do you not like it because you do the same thing, or just because you don't connect with it and you find great women?
Both is good.
Okay.
Brooklyn.
I'm gonna give this a 9.25. Really enjoyed it. We'll definitely be coming back to listen to it. Rue, you stole my favorite track. I agree, it's Life. Just the opening lyrics. I got angels running away. I got demons hunting me. I knew Pax 25. I knew Jesus 33. I tell death to keep a distance. I think he obsessed with me. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm invested in this song. I want to hear the rest of it. My least favorite is going to be, let's pull it up here. What did I put? Where are you? There you are. Busy/Sirens. And the only reason is because I want to get the Sirens. I like the Minds feature on it. I thought that was really cool. If I'm being honest, Busy reminds me a lot of another rapper that Rue and I both equally hate. So I was surprised, to hear that influence of Drake. That's what Busy.
I don't hate Drake.
Me.
I don't hate Drake. I just don't like his stuff now. But I'll still listen to his first album.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, other than that first section, I really loved it. But yeah, go listen to this if you get the chance.
And Tim, close us out.
I give this an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. It's still probably not something I'm going to come back to, but it at least makes me interested in listening to what else he does, and those other pointing to the other groups that you guys mentioned, the Roots. So 8 out of 10. My favorite was Gray. That was the one where when that was playing, I was like, yup, I like this. This is good. I'm enjoying this actively. This is great. The one I agree, I think it was Bar that said it. Broken Girls was the one that I was not super into. That was where I was and I thought Busy Sirens was a good starter, But then Broken Girls hit, and I was like, oh no, I'm not going to enjoy this, am I? And then I liked Life, and I liked Calligraphy, so like it went up from there. But Broken Girls was the one that I was really not into. So yeah, but I enjoyed it much more than I thought I was.
All right, Brooklyn, what does that put us score-wise?
So that gives it a 8.7625. Currently puts it at number 6 for this season, just above I Love You, Honey Bear. We also never got to talk about the score of Germ Free Adolescents. It got a 6.6, got a 6.675. It is sandwiched. It is slightly better than Nickelback's Dark Horse, but not as good as Bare Naked Ladies' Stunt.
You know what? I'll take that. I will take that. As long as it's better than Nickelback. That's a win for society.
Who brought Nickelback?
A friend of mine. A fellow Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you surprised? The Canadians fucking love Nickelback. All right. We're going to go to Tim next. Tim, tell us more about There's a Whole World Out There by Arm's Length.
Okay. So Arm's Length I found because this is their second album. Their first album, which I feel like I have to talk a little bit about to set this one up, is called Never Before Seen, Never Again Found. Also epic. Came out 3 years ago. I found them because I was watching the video where they were talking about the top 5 up and coming pop punk bands. And their song, Arm's Length song, Object Permanence from their first album, which is an awesome song, was the one featured. And I listened to it and I loved it. And I'm not super into like screamo bands or anything. And I started listening to that album, and on the third track of that first album, he screams quite a bit. And I was like, I probably am not into this. So I set it down. Like a year later, I picked it back up, listened to it again, and it just like hit me different. And I loved it and was a big fan then all of a sudden. So I was super looking forward to this new album. And it came out like mid-May, and I fell in love with it. This is like it's been a while since I've found a new band and found an album, and they've put something out where I've just like from beginning to end love it. I think lyrically, like, yes, this is the epitome of the sad white boy, I think. It's a lot of sad white boy stuff, which is what I mostly listen to, and I'm perfectly okay with that, and I love it. And I think that I've watched a lot of stuff about the band, like their music videos, and like they did a whole like making of the album and stuff too. And the drummer and I believe it's the one of the guitarists are brothers, and they are both like bigger, heavier guys. And I'm like, yes, heavy drummers. Let's praise the heavy drummers. But I was saying before with like loving instrumentation in albums and stuff, this album does something where like that they didn't do anything on in their first album, which is like throw in a freaking banjo in the album, and it's so fucking good because they use it just enough that it like just adds a little spice into the album, which I love. And like I was starting to say before, lyrically, I just really love the way that they write their lyrics, and the singer writes the lyrics. I love the way that I really enjoy his voice, the way that he sings. He does like a half like scream sing in some parts that I just like very much found that I enjoy. And I think it's just a very, what's the word I'm trying to find? I don't know. I just resonate a lot with a lot of the themes of a lot of the different songs. It doesn't, the first album very much has that like beginning to end story type of feeling. This one doesn't as much, but each individual song, there's a moment in each individual song where I just like absolutely like love and like freak out and enjoy it and like go insane. There's also a really awesome like beat drop moment in the opening track that every time I play this on my record player, my 2-year-old daughter goes like this, and it's really awesome. So we enjoy that. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan. I want to see them live. I didn't get to when they were in Milwaukee. It made me very sad. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about like the hardcore drumming, especially. I love the drumming. Throwing in the banjo, like I never knew I needed the banjo mixed in like that, but when it's used in like the instrumentation, the instrumental moments is what I'm trying to say. The non-singing moments. It's just like peppered in there. It's so good. I think they're just really talented across the board. Like the guitars, the drums, the singing, the bass. I think it's all great. And like I said before, lyrically, I think there's some really fun stuff. My favorite track particularly, which I don't want to say now, but
no.
yeah, but there's a few tracks like, okay, one of my other, again, this is one of those where I like every track, but one of the singles was You Ominously End. That was the second single they put out, and I think lyrically that song is super fucking cool. Like super cool. Again, it's all sad boy, the woe is me stuff, but that's what I grew up listening to, and I connect with it. I like it. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
So this is a band I had never heard of, and they made me interested to see where their careers will go. I think that this album has 2 incredible strengths and 1 weakness. I think the 1 weakness actually does come in the lyrics. Not completely, though. It's weird. They'll have great lines popped in there, like on what was the one you were just talking about?
You Ominously End.
Yeah, You Ominously End. There's a line in the chorus. Thought there was one thing you do right, it'd be the best Irish goodbye. I thought that was like a really well-written line. And then on Early Onset, there's the line, "You're the cure for Alzheimer's that makes memories appear." And that line hit me really hard. I was just kind of like stunned at how well that one worked for me. The one weakness in it, I wouldn't necessarily call it a flaw. I would just kind of call it a weakness in the lyrics, is how often it just kind of feels stream of conscious. Like the melody pattern and the rhyme scheme never really seems to just like fully functionally click and fall into place. It kind of just seems scattershot, which isn't always a bad thing. I think it's just the weak spot of this album. Let's talk about the 2 strengths, though. The instrumentation and the vocals. Alan Steinberg is a fantastic lead vocalist, especially for this kind of music. And the melodies that they're able to create with the bass, the drums, the guitars, the banjo, which I wish that the banjo was a little bit pushed more forward into the mix. It did kind of feel like the producer was a little embarrassed to have a banjo on like an emo pop like rock album. But they would do these little things every once in a while that would just like create great ear candy, where they would like switch it up just just a bit. Particularly the drum outro on Hallie or Haley or whatever that is. The strings in early onset were just absolutely beautiful to listen to. So there's a lot I like about this album, because I do love bands like Sorority Noise and Spanish Love Songs, and like this kind of sound is something that I really do enjoy. I don't think that they've hit their peak yet, but I definitely can see where they could go from here.
I'll go next. Yeah, I am definitely at least partially a sad white boy. So I very attached to these to these lyrics, and like having gone through the pop punk phase, there was definitely some like nostalgia towards this. Tim, knowing that you are a drummer, I totally understand why you love this album for the drums. Aside from like metal, pop punk is one of the most like technically proficient in terms of like blast beats, breakdowns, changing tempos and whatnot. And I've always respected that. The lyrics in this, I've really enjoyed. They're like oddly therapeutic. Like in the world, the line of like, when you've been in fight or flight your whole life, like the world starts freezing. I'm paraphrasing that a little bit, but I really enjoyed that. Andrew mentioned the Irish goodbye line in "You Ominously End." I really dug that. Early onset, the one that I highlighted was "Laughter is medicine when shit gets severe," and like especially now, I live by that. Especially like at work, like when things go south, I just try to like have a sense of humor in all of this. But yeah, when we talk about albums in general, I've often divided into like first half and second half. This one, I got a sense of like almost like three acts, like the world to the waif. Kind of, it sounds similar, but then you get to Palinopsia, which it starts to change a little bit, and then from Palinopsia to early onset is that second act. Early onset, kind of like almost like a ballad. It reminded me a lot of like Avenged Sevenfold when they kind of go acoustic. There's some like strings in there and whatnot. And then you get like from Genetic Lottery to Morning Person. That's the third act, and that's kind of like the combination of the two sounds that they were doing. Like you get more of the banjo, you get some country influence in Attic, and I really dug that. Like I said this before on the show, I love when bands want to introduce a new idea, they kind of pepper it in, and I forget if it's in Palinopsia or The Wound, but that's when they introduce the banjo sound, and then you obviously end like kind of really leans on that, and I dug it. Like when you're talking about big swings, this is the other one that I was alluding to. But yeah, really dug this. Tim, if you like this as these guys are a Canadian emo band from Southern Ontario. If you like these guys, I really recommend checking out Alexis on Fire. Kind of a similar sound. There's more of like a duality in vocals. It's shared by two guys, but yeah, I really enjoyed this.
So actually their first album, the bassist did a lot of singing too, not nearly as much as the lead singer.
Okay.
But I don't think he really sings at all on this. But the first album is definitely more dual singing, which is cool. Yeah.
Here we go. There is this thing in the Black community where we respect the hell out of talent and authenticity. Like I was really happy to see this recent news story of this new Black punk band that like got to open for Green Day by like DMing them, and like a year later they have a new song out with Travis Porter.
Oh, you're talking
not Travis
about
Porter, Travis Barker.
You're talking about the Paradox.
Yes,
they are so fucking good.
So like I saw that, and, I saw that, and like I saw all of my people like big upping them, like hell the fuck yeah, not gonna listen to it, but go do your stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Rue, listen. Oh, it's so good. I'm seeing
So-
them in November. I'm super excited.
And even more so, if we make jokes, we definitely respect the hell out of you. And from jump, the first sound I heard on this album, I immediately thought of, I don't know if y'all know who Kev on Stage is, but Kev on Stage or any other comedian who puts on the black wig with the with the bang over the eye and does the emo voice that I can't do. All week I was trying to do it to see if I could.
Where are you?
Yes, that from jump, and I was like, ah, shit. And the Irish Goodbye line and the lyrics are the strength. And when you said vocals and instrumentation, I said, huh? Because I cannot get past the vocals and instrumentation to listen to how good the lyrics are. Unfortunately, I am literally the opposite of a sad white boy. I am a very happy Black and Latino man. That's what I am. And everything you said about germ-free adolescence, take that and multiply by 10 for me. Like I can't tell you the difference from one song to the next. And I was, again, trying to listen. I could not get past the jokes in my head with the voice. I don't like the voice. I don't like the singing voice. I like it more than Nick Cave. I'll tell you that, because I can't stand that man's voice, and I will bring it up every time I possibly can. I can deal with that better than
Next
him.
time you're on, I'm bringing on Dig Lazarus Dig. There's no stopping me.
I get, but like it's not a voice I like. It's not a singing voice that I like. But even more than that, I was trying to latch on to the instrumentation. And for me, what made it sound like while like I thought the same thing. This was the first album I listened to. Like this was the first one. So like when Germ-Free Adolescents came on, I was like, I hear the same things, but not as bad as There's a World Out There. Not only did every song for me, I could not tell the difference from one to the next to the next, but it was more so because I feel like they were on 10 and they stayed on 10. Like throw every drum you can throw at it, throw every guitar you can throw at it. I didn't even know there was a banjo because everything was just blasted at 10 the entire time, except for one song. And I was like, lower it down a little bit. I want to hear something that like I can sift through. And the entire time I was laughing because that joke just kept going in my head and the voice kept going through my head. But I could not. I was like, damn, I can't. I can't tell you one song. I literally can tell you one song, maybe two. But the rest of it, I was like, you tell me the name and give me the song and tell me that's right. I'm gonna be like, okay, because not the epitome of not me.
I 100% believe that I can guess what that one song is.
Oh, yeah.
So unfortunately, this one was when you said this is the not me albums. There was only one album that was really not for me, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, it's this one.
All right. Any last thoughts before we wrap this one up? All right. Tim, I do want to say, as I messaged you after having listened to this album the first time, I do highly recommend you listen to the album Brave Faces, Everyone by Spanish Love Songs. Beautiful. Also,
I actually no finish bar, and then I got
also Sorority Noise. Check out Sorority Noise. But go ahead,
Tim. Like I might be very ignorant here, but the Black community also loves us some Paramore. How close to Paramore is the Paradox? Like, how would you compare them? Okay, then yeah, no. If they were anything like Paramore, I would definitely go listen to them.
The Paradox sounds like early 2000s Blink.
I can do that. I can do that.
So like they have a whole song talking about how they want to fuck their teacher who's really hot.
That is relatable.
And
relatable.
They're
100%.
They don't have any EPs or albums out yet. They have like 5 singles out. They're all great. But yeah, they're all their lyrics are very you can tell they're a first time band who's like going after the like Blink 182 like aesthetic. So like some of the lyrics to me are like, okay, that's pretty like juvenile in a sense, but like it works because the music is so good and the two vocalists are insanely good.
All I
Like,
know is every time I see them pop up on my feed, my heart is filled with joy.
yeah,
Full joy.
I saw them pop up and I like just clicked on it and listened to it and I was like, this is fucking awesome. Who are these guys? And I searched and yeah, they made a post on Instagram or something where they were like, a year ago we didn't exist and now we're at Vans Warped Tour. And they're opening for another sad white boy band. They're opening for All Time Low in October, November. So I'm seeing them on that tour and I'm super excited because I want to buy their merch and support the band.
It's so funny that you call All Time Low a sad boy band when like my favorite song from them is fucking Melancholy Kaleidoscope, which is one of their most peppy songs.
I love that song.
All right, so Tim, give us your score, your favorite and your least favorite song.
This is a 9.5. I don't know that I can go the full 10. There's a couple moments where that aren't totally my favorite. Least favorite is probably, oh god, I love them all though.
I know, that's the problem with bringing on an album like this to the show.
Honestly, my least favorite is probably Funny Face, which was like the lead single. I liked the song a lot, but it was the one that took the longest to grow on me. And my favorite is by far The Wait. That is like by far my favorite. Like not even close. I love the lyrics in that song. And just most pop punk rock emo bands are either talking about girls they wanted to get that they didn't get, blah blah blah, la di la di la. But this song is like all about like not feeling good in your own skin, and like the lead singer, if you look at him, is ridiculously skinny, and the whole song is just about like people complain that I'm really skinny and like that dysphoria, and having like that opposite thing for me is like, I don't know, the song really clicks for that. But like I said before, there's so many lyrics, tons of songs in these songs that I love, that like and even Maggie, who does not like this music, like my god, she listened to, like, I made her listen to this. And in Palinopsia, which is probably my second favorite one, there's a line that's like you love the smell of the gas and the fresh cut grass when we used to have a lawn. And like that like hit so hard for me because that was something that like we always talked about when like we moved into an apartment together, was like, God, don't you just miss, like, I never thought I would miss going outside to mow the freaking lawn, and now I miss it. So like there's just lots of moments like that throughout the album. So yeah, 9.5. Is that what I said? Yeah, I'm sticking with it. Yeah.
Rue.
Funnily enough, trying to figure out my least favorite song, I literally was like, let me just turn it and see what the first thing I look at. And it was Funny Face. So there, because I didn't know what to choose. Bar, what do you think is my favorite song?
Early Onset.
Early Onset.
Yeah.
Easy. Because again, throughout it, when I was able to like hear the lyrics, I was like, shit, this is really good. I just can't get past this the sonic aesthetic. Early Onset was the song I was like, I would listen to this, or I would give a full listen of an album like this and be able to like it more. But easily Early Onset. I specifically remember the Irish Goodbye line. Even though I don't think that's Early Onset. That's
You Ominously End.
So I think those two back to back were like, okay, and then we're like, okay, and then really okay. But yeah, unfortunately the rest. So those are so I was trying to figure out a score, and I was like, I was born at 4:42 p.m. So 4.42 is my score.
Okay. I'll go next. I'm kind of in between like a 6.95 and a 7.05, so I'm just gonna kind of just give it a flat 7 for that reason. You Ominously End, I think, was my favorite one. Just like strong lyrics, interesting instrumentation. Oh my god, I need to do that for my vocal warm-ups. Genetic Lottery was my least favorite one.
Ooh.
For some reason, that particular song felt like, and this is not necessarily the insult that I think a lot of people would take this to be. For a lot of reasons, it kind of felt like Plain White Tees trying to be, oh my god, why am I blanking on who made the Black Parade? My Chemical Romance.
No, I could actually, I could see that. That's pretty spot on.
Yeah. So not necessarily bad, but like compared to some of the other bands that I've mentioned, it's the one that kind of like most falls into the background of what they also kind of do. And Brooklyn.
I can't quite give it a 9, but like Andrew was saying, I'm excited to hear what these guys put out in the future. I gave it an 8.8. Yeah, like I really dug the sound, and it's very, yeah, it hits a certain spot in my time. My favorite is going to be Genetic Lottery, although I did really love Fatal Flaw. I like the story of it.
Fatal Flaw is my second favorite.
Yeah, sure. I like this. I like the story of that one, of like being able to like I think it says in the song, like, romanticize your past, but like the whole being, it's like don't look at your past as just like shitty moments. Look at how you've grown from that, and I really attached to that. Genetic Lottery, though, why it's my favorite, I liked the hook of like, I fuck around and prepare to find out. We've talked on the show before that not every artist can curse. These guys can. Yeah. My least favorite, unfortunately, is Holly. Maybe I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Hallie.
But yeah. Hallie, yeah. And like the reason that I don't like that, because I found in terms of the album, it just served as a transition to Morning Person, and I really dug Morning Person, especially as a closer. I loved the story of it as well. So I found when I was going to that, I was like, all right, like let's get ahead of this so that we can get to Morning Person. Score wise,
listen to their first album, Brooklyn. I think you would like it. It's it's as good. I like this one a little bit better, but the first one's harder. It's more, it's definitely more metal.
Yeah. So score wise, this gives it a 7.43. Just outside of the top 20. In between the last album that I put on last time, Honest Man Matt Anderson, and it is just before The Incredible True Story, Logic.
Nice.
All right, so Brooklyn, you're going to close us off. Tell us more about sports.
All right, so I brought, as soon as we decided that Mike Hamley was going to be on the show, I knew this is the album that I was going to pick.
Yeah.
If you have lived under a rock, Huey Lewis and the Newest did a song for Back to the Future, Power of Love. That's an incredible song. I actually got to do that song. Like 5 months ago with a full backing band, and I had a blast doing it. But aside from putting this on for Mike, my mom showed me Huey and Lewis at a very early age. She made sure that I heard this, Bryan Adams, and Eagles, and
one of those things is not like the other.
Yes, yeah, but yeah. This is their third studio album. The other ones, I'll look them up in a little bit.
4 and like the first 2.
Yeah. I would argue that their biggest one, Hip to Be Square, doesn't come until their 4th studio album, which is crazy. Like you think about bands and like how they kind of come up. I've never seen an act kind of get their biggest hit so far late into their discography. When I was just like doing some like Googling to see if any fun facts, I did find this, which is crazy. Their backing band, like the news part, they were under a different name, I believe, called Clover. They were the backing band for one of Andrew and I's favorite albums, Elvis Costello's "My Aim Is True," which has "Allison," a top 500 song. But
That's crazy.
yeah, it is crazy. I also want to give a big round of applause to everybody. Everybody submitted an album this month that is under an hour. And I think this is the shortest of the bunch, clocking in at like 37, 39 minutes.
This was the first one I listened to, and I was like, "Ooh, we got a quick album here, baby."
Yeah.
It was literally the perfect length from like driving to work from my house.
That's awesome.
Like I parked and the album stopped.
Yeah,
that's great.
But this album in particular, and the general sense that I get from Huey Lewis is that you can tell that he loves the 50s and he's influenced by the 50s, but he kind of takes like the 80s sound and adds those ideas onto the backbone of 50 songs in general. Especially you get the heart of rock and roll, Heart and Soul. Bad is probably the best example in that. I love like the whole doo-woppiness of it, and then you get like that like guitar solo that kind of goes off of it. You of course have the story of like I Want a New Drug, and like the whole like Ghostbusters asked him to do the Ghostbusters theme.
I was about to bring this up.
And then Ray Parker Jr. did it, and he's like, no, like, well, I'm actually going to do this, and like they sound eerily similar. Then you have If This Is It, which I think is like one of the prettiest Huey Lewis ballads, especially when you get into that chorus of like "Girl Don't Cry," "Tell me Nothing's Wrong," and just the buildup of that, and then like the "Please Let Me Know If This Ain't Love," and then you get like the backing vocals, like you hear them kind of descend. Then you get some interesting choices on Honky Tonk Blues is definitely like a rockabilly sort of thing, kind of gets like the country rock and roll side of it and whatnot. My one criticism, I do think this album is a little too short. Like this could almost be an EP. I think there are a couple of tracks that are added on there to kind of pad out the runtime of it. I will get into my favorite. The last thing I want to add before I pass it off. The thing that I really liked about the Heart of Rock and Roll, I got a sense of like the hustle and bustle of kind of like traffic, like busy traffic, like rush hour or whatnot. Especially when you get into that that instrumental section of like having like the horns and then the guitar. Yeah, I just really enjoyed that, but I'm curious as to what everybody thinks.
Brooklyn, cue the clip twice. Has anybody heard this album or his album before we talked about it?
Yes.
No.
I had heard
multiple songs.
Yeah, but I had never heard them.
Son of a bitch.
So I didn't know I had heard individual songs before listening to it. I started it and I was like, all right, we're going. And then he started singing and I was like, oh, this guy. Yeah, Huey Lewis.
Huey, baby.
The biggest question I had when it ended was, why is it called Sport? They don't talk about sports.
No. I don't know. I always thought like before looking up their discography, my headcanon was I thought they were gonna do like an Ed Sheeran-esque thing where he does like plus, multiply, divide. I thought he was gonna do it by like different sections of the newspaper. So it could have been like sports, the funnies, but it's not that.
I don't think Obituaries is a good. Well, maybe it is a good.
Actually, no, that's a great album name. That is a great album name.
No, this was a lot of fun. There was this was one of those things where I was listening to it and I thought to myself, I'm actively enjoying listening to this. would I ever choose to put this on and vibe with it day to day? Absolutely not. Nope, wouldn't do it. But if it's on, I'm not going to hit skip. It's enjoyable. We've talked about the instrumentation a lot tonight, but like, yeah, I mean, like all these instruments are like playing their hearts out. It's great. He's singing his heart out. I did not know the Ghostbuster story. That is very interesting. That is really cool.
Oh, the legal issues on that are.
I had to look up the year of this and the year of Ghostbusters because I was like, either Ghostbusters stole off of this or this stole off of Ghostbusters. Because damn,
Ghostbusters absolutely stole from them.
Yeah, that's crazy. And now that you say it, it like totally makes sense. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. I don't really have anything like ultra positive to say, but also don't have anything ultra negative to say. The only song that I like, the Heart of Rock and Roll, like I recognized listening to it. But If This Is It was like, I heard it and I was like, oh, I know this song. Like, I don't know if it's from a movie or if I've heard it on the radio or in a show or what, but that was the one where I was like, I knew that song. But yeah, good 80s album. Enjoyed it.
I, in my head, figured that this album was called Sports because I thought when I was going to listen to it, I was going to be watching Back to the Future over again in my ears. But no, I was watching and listening to Major League the entire time. And who doesn't have a good fucking time listening and watching Major League? That is exactly what I was thinking the entire time I was listening to this. Like, this sounds like the soundtrack, and it's a bop, and I am enjoying the hell out of this. Like, who doesn't like Huey Lewis in the News? Like, I'm with you. It's not. Yeah. I'm not gonna go get their albums. I'm probably not gonna keep this on my phone. But again, I'm not like gonna skip it. I'm not gonna say turn it off. I'm gonna enjoy the good time and the great vocals and great music that is being played to me.
So before we get to Andrew, I want to bring up one thing. When we did the original top 500 list, we had talked about like Meatloaf and how we felt like he was kind of left off. When we did our top 500, Huey Lewis took that spot for me, where it was like, I want to add you on there, and it probably would have been Hip to Be Square or another track, but I couldn't find a spot to be like, all right, you can come off so that you can join in, like just like kind of like the outsider looking in for that list.
I kind of want to expand on what everyone else has said. Huey Lewis in the News is that one band that nobody's going to admit really liking. But when they come on, like you in your head, you're singing along to it. I don't care who you are.
You know what it just reminded me of? Anybody here not seen The Accountant 2? You have not? Okay. Well, anyway, there's a scene where they're in a bar and the music he's playing is not the music he likes at all. But then, like, I mean, part of it is a girl, but he starts to get up and starts dancing his ass off to country music. And that just made me think of that. It's like I'm not doing this. I'm doing this. Yeah. I'm doing this. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. Because this is a band that sounds like a bunch of your dad and a bunch of his friends just got together just for the sake of making some fun music and just happened to get a record deal. Like, that's the vibe of Huey Lewis in the News.
That's funny.
Like, there's nothing like super edgy about them. There's like a charming wholesomeness to it that's kind of corny, and you're like semi-embarrassed, but you're enjoying it. That's the vibe. Huey Lewis in the News. And for some reason, that vibe just perfectly captured the sound of like 80s New York City. And I don't know how they effing did it. I've heard most of this album before because my job plays literally 5 of these 9 songs. Like, I was listening to this album and I was like, nope, I've heard that at work. I've heard that one at work. I've heard that one at work. I've heard that one at work. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this album, because would I consider it like one of the great albums of the 80s? No. Am I enjoying it as I'm listening to it? Somehow, and I feel crazy for saying that. It's a good time. I don't think it ends very strong. That's the one weak spot of the album is like the ending. But the talent is there. Like the horn section on I Want a New Drug sounds amazing. The guitars always just like absolutely rip. It's such a baffling album in its enjoyment, in the sense that I cannot tell you exactly what about this corny ass album is so enjoyable.
Nice.
All right. Any last thoughts on this one? Because I feel like this was like the breeziest album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with
100%.
that.
All right, Brooklyn, give us your score. Favorite and least favorite.
All right. I originally had this at an 8, but the more that I think about it, I don't know if it quite deserves an 8. We're gonna go. No, fuck it. We're gonna keep it at an 8. An 8 is fair because I think the singles on this are incredible. Like Andrew mentioned, like you get to hear 5 of these at work, so they clearly have the longevity. Favorite wise, if this is it, it's like a strong second, but I Want a New Drug, and Andrew, you were mentioning it, that horn section, specifically the horn solo, is fucking incredible. And just the little detail of like when they do that opening riff, they kind of stay on the melody line, but then they dip down and then come right back up right quick, and it changes the tempo just a little bit, that it kind of adds like this new kind of groove, which the bass line kind of already established at the beginning of the song, which is fucking incredible in its own right. And then just kind of how that solo ends is also pure chaos. Like I always look forward to hearing that solo like every time that I hear it. My least favorite is probably going to be Finally Found a Home. If Walking on a Thin Line and You Crack Me Up are the ones that I kind of think are fillers, I don't mind Walking on a Thin Line on re-listen, and You Crack Me Up is just like, I kind of appreciate it for its like tongue-in-cheek moments, but Finally Found a Home, it just sounds like nothing. It doesn't make me think of like, oh yeah, like this is a Huey Lewis and the News song. It just sounds like standard sort of like 80s pop.
All right, let's go to Tim.
I give this a solid 7. I had fun. I enjoyed it. But like we've all said, it's not like anything like life changing or anything. But it was like the popcorn movie, the movie that you just go and shove popcorn face and you watch some action and you have some fun. That's like how I felt about this one. My favorite was If This Is It. Frankly, I listened. I was like, oh damn, I know this song. This song rocks, and like had a blast. But a close second was Heart and Soul. I really liked that one as well. And I actually really liked Walking on a Thin Line. That one was my third favorite. My least favorite was probably Honky Tonk Blues. Like I just did not care. It was a weak way to close the album. But yeah, that was probably my least favorite.
Rue.
I'm scoring it higher than you, Brooklyn. I gave it a solid 8.2.
Hey.
I enjoyed myself listening to it. I like the experience of it. Again, if you make me think of one of my favorite movies of all time, you're gonna be a little higher up there for me. Favorite song, If This Is It. I mean, like I think that's kind of universally. I didn't even know of any of these songs beforehand, even though I know Huey, and it sounds like it's the song people know, and there's a reason. It's really, really good. And then my least favorite is Honky Tonk Blues. One, If you have the word honky in your song, you're already on the back foot. So you better be coming with something that is very, very good. And it's not necessarily that it's a bad song that I wouldn't listen to. It's where it is and where it comes from. Because even with your album, Tim, one thing I can give to to all of the albums, they all sound like cohesive albums that go together. And when this song played, except similar to the end of Lost Boys, when this song played, I was like, this is, what is this? This has nothing to do with the other songs. This feels so out of place. Just so not what I've been listening to for the past 35 minutes. Why are we ending here? And it was weird. So, yeah, double strike there.
I can't believe I'm giving this album an 8.1. Like, I thought it would kind of be aligned with like Tim's rating when you first gave it. I was like, oh, I like Huey Lewis in the News. Yeah, this will be fun. And I'm like, why is this just like the perfect album for this moment? It would be a little bit higher if the last two songs were kind of stronger. Like You Crack Me Up is basically Huey Lewis going, ooh, I'm mad now, and I couldn't buy into it because it's fucking Huey Lewis. But yeah, Honky Tonk Blues, I agree. I feel like I've heard this song done way better by other artists like 700 times, and it just kind of feels like at the bottom of that pile. So what does that give it score-wise total?
That gives it a 7.825. Just outside
crazy.
the top 15. Slightly better than The Forever Story by JID, but not as good as When a Man Loves a Woman by Percy Sledge.
What a crazy place for that to land.
Wow.
All right. So with that being said, let's wrap this episode up. We're going to give our favorite albums that somebody else brought to the table today. I'm going to go first. Somehow it's fucking Sports by Huey Lewis in the News. I did not think that this was going to be the case, but the cheesy dad part of me, like the cool local club, got to me here. Brooklyn.
Mine's going to be Care for Me by Saba.
All right. Tim.
The one I appreciate the most, Care for Me. The one I enjoyed listening to the most, Sports.
Okay, so we'll kind of just do a little double flash there. And Rue.
Funnily enough, before I came on, my scores for Lost Boys and Sports were actually flipped. And as I was listening and talking to you all, it landed where it landed. Because Lost Boys was the 8.2 and Sports was the 7.8. It's Sports. The more I think about it, it's Sports.
Does that mean it enters the Hall of Fame?
I finally have an album.
Holy shit.
Oh, man.
Out of all the albums to actually make it into the Hall of Fame, Sports by Huey Lewis.
That's awesome.
If you are a good popcorn piece of entertainment, it deserves to be there.
Yeah. What a plot twist. Did not have this on my bingo card today.
I did not either, but it joins Just Listen by Music Soul Child, Post by Björk, and Beloved Paradise Jazz by McKinley Dixon. What a Hall of Fame we've got going
so
right
just
now.
Just to give context for the other albums that are on the Hall of Fame, the other ones scores are 9.25, 9.125, and then Björk from earlier this year got a 9.6. Like, the fact that this is like a 7.8 and it got to the Hall of Fame. Anything is possible.
Do you believe in
thank
miracles?
you. Yeah.
Yes. All right. With that crazy ending, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We'd love to have you back on at some point. Rue, you're absolutely going to be back on. You're our third host, essentially. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. For Timberkala, for Amaru Moses, for Brooklyn Vale, I am Andrew Barr.
The albums?
Next episode. Thank you, Brooklyn. Next episode, before we sign off, we're going to have a great panel. We're going to have Bill Carriola. We're going to have Scott Harvey. And we're going to have my good friend, recording artist, and soon-to-be Vegas performer, Ray Raddick, on the show. Let me pull up those albums because it is a interesting group of albums. They are Anchors Away by the Bouncing Souls, Sunburn by Gordy Sampson, Crimes of Passion by Pat Benatar, Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple, and The Juice Volume 1 by Emotional Oranges. So quite the eclectic group of albums there. Please tune in for that one as well. But for everybody here on the table today, thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening, and keep on rocking.
Try safely.